you don't tap, you're going to get your knee ripped apart.
For decades, this move was banned. Too dangerous, they called it. Too reckless.
And that's the real problem with leg locks, is that so many guys wind up with pretty devastating knee injuries.
A small twist of the foot, big crack in the knee. And your career could end before you can even say, let's get some acai later.
What about the one with you and Vinny, where you broke his leg?
That was disgusting, yeah. That still haunts me, hey.
So most gyms simply banned it. And for years, the heel hook lived underground. No self-respecting jiu-jitsu athlete would touch it, but it was still practiced quietly by catch wrestlers, sambo players, and a handful of rebels. Today, it is seen as one of the most studied, systematized, and respected techniques in jiu-jitsu, all thanks to one American renegade who dared to ask one very simple question. Jiu-jitsu was built around ground fighting, positional control, getting to dominant positions, and finishing your opponent with submissions. This was only seen as a one-way street. You start at the legs, get past them, make it to the opponent's upper body, and finish with a choke or a joint lock. Anything attacking the knee was considered reckless and unsportsmanlike. It meant you couldn't play the game and choke your opponent out, so you cheated and you took the easy way out. Okay, but how can a foot twist end someone's career? Good question, young Padawan. That little twist is deceptively simple. It looks like it should do nothing at all, but when applied properly, it transfers immense torque to the knee joint, particularly the ligaments that stabilize the knee. A single misstep or a slow tap, and the damage could be catastrophic. Ligament tears, meniscus damage, surgery, year-long recovery. In severe cases, one single heel hook could ruin your career. And remember, this was caused by this. The heel hook is like Exodia. It was the forbidden one, something that wins you the match instantly, but also seals your opponent's fate. In 1994, the largest tournament and governing body in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, the IBJJF, was founded by Carlos Gracie Jr., son of one of the founders of BJJ. They wrote the official rules of competitive jiu-jitsu, and notably, they banned heel hooks altogether.
In the 80s, the decision not to have heel hooks in jiu-jitsu was for safety.
Age, experience, skill, none of that mattered. The submission was simply off limits, and everyone complied, so the submission fell by the wayside. Most gyms banned practicing it entirely. Yet the heel hook did not disappear. Outside of traditional jiu-jitsu, Russian sambo fighters were using the heel hooks effectively, unconcerned with tradition or rules. The move survived, quietly, waiting for its moment. By the early 2000s, people started training more and more without the traditional Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu kimono, commonly known as a gi, which brought the rise of a new, faster, more fluid and more dynamic style of Jiu-Jitsu done with no gi on. I wonder what they call that. No gi? Really? The rise of no-gi jiu-jitsu coincided with the explosion of MMA, beginning with UFC 1 in 1993, which of course is done without a gi on, unless your name is Royce Gracie. Now, heel hooks are legal in MMA, and in general, fighters do not care about what a BJJ tournament says you can and can't do.
If those kids could read, they'd be very upset.
And fighters quickly realized their potential.
Because you know I'm all about that cake and chicken. I'm all about that cake and chicken.
One of these heel-hooking rascals was the legendary Japanese grappler and MMA fighter
Ashkan Judan Imanari
cared not for what the IBJJF thought. In fact, he cared so little that he heel hooked one of Carlson Gracie Sr.'s students, Renato Tavares. He did this way back in 2004. After that, he would go on to get 8 more heel hooks in his career. Jeez, now I get why his nickname is which translates to Master of Leg Locks. Going back to the UFC, the heel hook was the main weapon of one of the most hated people in MMA as a whole.
Who's that Pokemon?
Rousimar Palhares came around, and Palhares started ripping people's legs apart.
The knee destroyer, the tap ignorer, Rousimar Palhares. Let's just say that letting go was never one of his strengths. He was never really known as a person who respected the tap. Usually, the ref would have to pry his hands open with a crowbar. He would go on to win 7 matches with heel hooks over the span of his career. Fun fact, check the comments on any of his fights. You'll see a sea of angry fans demanding revenge for all the knees he's destroyed. There are many more examples of fighters who made free use of the heel hook, showing the world that leg locks can end a fight instantly. But that didn't matter to BJJ guys. They were safe under the IBJJF rule set. They knew that nobody would even try to heel hook them. A few years after UFC 1, a member of the Abu Dhabi ruling family would seek to make his own contribution to the world of grappling. The Abu Dhabi Combat Club, better known as ADCC, was started by Ben. Wait, hold on, that can't be right. Let me check my notes again. Oh, yeah. It was started by Sheikh Tonon bin Zayed Al Nahyan, who trained under the name Ben in order to keep a low profile. In 1998, wanting to promote grappling and submission wrestling, he would casually start the Super Bowl of submission grappling, the premier no-gi competition tournament, every grappler's dream, that ADCC gold, baby. With its growing prestige and permissive rules regarding heel hooks, the ADCC stage was set as a platform for the first wave of leg lock specialists to make their mark on the grappling world and show the real power of the heel hook. One of these legendary leg lock stand-in was Dean the Boogeyman Lister, an American pioneer who trained extensively in leg locks, particularly heel hooks. He understood their potential better than almost anyone else in the early 2000s. He saw the ADCC medal and it captivated him, so he stepped in. In 2003, he won the North American trials to qualify for ADCC Worlds, and very few understood what he had planned. He was cerebral. He knew that the athletes who competed under strict IBJJF rule sets had a massive weak spot: 2 shiny heels ready to be torqued. Match after match, Lister attacked with precision, heel hooks from unexpected angles, systematic control, entries that left his opponents scrambling. Each victory built tension, forcing the grappling world to pay attention. He would go on to win a gold medal in the open division, also known as an absolute, facing competitors of all sizes. The crowd, the competitors, even seasoned coaches began to realize something scary. They were seeing firsthand that leg locks worked. They weren't just tricks, and this would start a revolution that would continue to this very day. Dean showed his defiance of old tradition. He wanted people to face what scared them, not ban it, not cower from it. Fear is not something to be avoided, but something to be faced and understood. He would reveal his mindset and the inevitability of heel hooks by asking a very simple question.
It's 50% of the human body. Like, why'd you ignore it?
This banger of a statement crystallized everything he had shown on the mat. For decades, grapplers had neglected the lower body, but now, after people like Dean stepped on the world stage and won gold medals using leg locks, heel hooks were no longer a curiosity, a taboo, or a dangerous gamble. They were shown to be legitimate, game-defining strategy. So you either had to get with the program or get your knee broken. The epic question that the boogeyman dared to ask wasn't just sent out into the void though. It landed on the ears of possibly the only man who could take this question and fly to the moon with it. The question Dean asked was directed at John Danaher, a philosopher, thinker, and soon-to-be black belt under Renzo Gracie, who approached jiu-jitsu in a different way than other people did. He believed that every movement, every position could be broken down into underlying principles and systems of control. Dean Lister had shown the world that heel hooks worked, but for nearly a decade after his ADCC run, very few truly followed in his footsteps. The knowledge was there, scattered across Sambo, MMA, and underground grappling, but it lacked structure. There was no system, no roadmap for when, how, and why to use the heel hook. This is where John's contribution would come in. Now an instructor at the Renzo Gracie Academy in Manhattan, he set out on a mission to uncover the forgotten secrets of heel hooks and build a roadmap for the rest of the world to follow. He would begin his work with a genius move, separating the method of control and the method of breaking. He realized that most practitioners using heel hooks at the time didn't differentiate between control and breaking. To them, it was all one move, but that meant that their results were not consistent and usually resulted in the catastrophic injuries that we spoke about earlier, because in those cases they had to apply the submission hold, the heel hook, quickly. Otherwise, they would leave a window for the opponent to escape, but ripping it quickly often led to injury. Danaher wanted to establish control, to be able to hold the opponent in place, making the submission more effective and much safer in the process. He didn't treat leg locks as tricks or opportunistic submissions, and that would lead to the greatest breakthrough in modern jiu-jitsu. Danaher discovered that by strategically placing his legs on the opponent's legs and hips allowed him to stop their movements and slowly make his way towards a strong, controlled heel hook finish. These controlling positions would be called ashigarami, a generic Japanese term meaning entangled legs. Using various leg configurations, we can distinguish between a few controlling positions: outside ashigarami, inside ashigarami, cross ashigarami, and 50-50. All of these positions have their advantages and disadvantages. However, they all lead to our desired heel hook finish. Danaher would entrust a lot of the testing to these positions to a real Wolverine. His first great test case was Eddie the Wolverine Cummings. Eddie was analytical, patient, and obsessive, maybe a little too obsessive, a perfect student for Danaher's systematic approach. But Eddie wasn't just a test dummy for Danaher's systems. He worked closely with his instructor. Together, they built the first modern leg lock system, which provided the blueprint for entering into a controlling position, the ashigarami, and attacking the heel hook with control and deadly precision. When Cummings began competing on the professional grappling circuit, events like Eddie Bravo's Invitational, aka EBI, he tore through opponents with frightening consistency. He didn't have athleticism and chaos was never on his side, but he had a system and a coach that he trusted. Every opponent knew what was coming, and it didn't really matter. They just did not know what to do once their legs were entangled. It was like Eddie had cheats enabled. He was as systematically precise as you can get. Robotic level of accuracy and control, unlike his teammate. Another of Danaher's students, Gary, your mom's favorite grappler, Tonon, took the same system and put his own twist on it. Cummings was clinical. Tonon was chaos incarnate. If Eddie was playing chess, Gary was breakdancing on the chessboard. He competed in everything: submission-only events, ADCC, EBI, even MMA. His style was reckless and electric, yet beneath the scrambles and dives was the same systematic foundation. Tonon's matches were spectacles, back and forth wars that often ended with his opponents caught in Danaher's signature inside heel hook. His audience-friendly style allowed the masses to get more familiar with the new leglock wizardry. People just couldn't get enough of him, and he was boosting his own as well as John Danaher's popularity within the BJJ community. This would all mark the beginning of a new era, one where we would see the rise of a young king. The young prodigy, Gordon the King Ryan, would take the system to its logical extreme. Young Gordon absorbed all of the knowledge that Renzo Gracie New York's training room had to offer. He was surrounded by the most analytical and advanced leglockers in the world, and yet no one but Gordon himself expected that he would go on to use that knowledge and experience and turn it into one of the greatest grappling careers the BJJ world has ever seen. Much like his teammates, Gordon would compete a lot, doing EBIs and many local competitions. But his rise to fame began when he was just 22 at the 2017 ADCC Worlds, where he would win first place in the minus 88 kilogram division and take second place in the open weight division. 2 years later, at the 2019 ADCC Worlds in Anaheim, California, he would win 8 matches in a row to claim the gold in his now minus 99 kilogram division and the open weight. Now, there's really no point in me listing all of his wins here. I will just say that he is undefeated since May of 2018. Yes, you didn't mishear me. 2018. We're now in the big 2025, and Gordon is sitting at a comfortable
157
wins,
9
losses, and 3 draws. His record has more green than a Minecraft landscape, and it is those exact feats that make a lot of people consider him to be the greatest grappler of all time. Let's not kid ourselves, none of this would have been possible without John Danaher's influence, without the leglock and heel hook blueprint. Gordon notoriously uses Danaher's systems to their full potential, attacking the heel hook so much that his opponents would preemptively try to avoid that position, which would open them to many other attacks and ways for Gordon to win. If Danaher's system was not popular before Gordon, it certainly was during his legendary run. John was beginning to be widely recognized as the best innovator and coach in jiu-jitsu. After Gordon Ryan had cemented the Danaher system in the United States, the ripple effect reached far beyond New York. It even made it to the land down under. An unknown Australian grappler, Craig Jones, was quietly making a name for himself in the underground grappling scene. No one knew who he was on the international stage, yet let alone expect the way he would reshape the perception of heel hooks. Like Gordon, Jones first caught the world's attention at ADCC 2017, facing Leandro Lo, a legendary IBJJF competitor known for his positional dominance and technical mastery. An Australian nobody taking on one of the greats of the sport. Surely this will be an easy first round for Lowe, right? Craig executed a heel hook
break
that stunned the audience. It was a statement. He cemented himself as a part of the heel hook revolution. Despite him not training with John Danaher in New York at the time, Craig's rise demonstrated that the heel hook system was no longer limited to the blue base or to a single coach's students. It was universal, teachable, adaptable, and devastating at the highest levels of competition. His performances in the UK's premier BJJ event Palhares, Chael Sonnen's event Submission Grappling, and ADCC made him a global icon for leglock mastery. Craig would later join Danaher's team, now comprising of Gary Tonon, Gordon Ryan, his little brother Nicky Ryan, an amazing leglocker in his own right, Craig Jones, and a strong wrestler who was at the time new to BJJ, Nicky Rodriguez, with John Danaher at the lead. They all gathered in one training room, looked at each other and said, "What are we, some sort of Danaher death squad?" Then they all rode off into the sunset to heel hook God. Seriously, that's what happened. Don't look into it further. By the late 2010s, heel hook was no longer a dirty word. Professional grappling events like Palhares, EBI, ADCC, Who's Number One, and the UFC's Fight Pass embraced it. It was ADCC's initial openness that turned the heel hook into a technical arms race. The submission became a staple in the highest levels of grappling competition. Athletes were winning world championships with it. It was no longer something that you can just ignore. By the early 2020s, even the IBJJF, the same organization that once called it too dangerous, began allowing heel hooks in its adult brown and black belt no-gi divisions. This was a cultural shift. The heel hook had come full circle. From the shadows of underground gyms to the bright lights of ADCC and Palhares, the heel hook has traveled a remarkable path. A move once banned for its brutality had become the symbol of technical mastery. Once feared and forbidden, it is now studied, practiced, and celebrated. The heel hook defined an entire era. Grapplers no longer ignored 50% of the human body, all thanks to the early innovators who showed everyone that change should be embraced with open arms and not banned, not swept under the rug. The heel hook story is a reminder that martial arts evolve not just through tradition, but through curiosity, daring, and the willingness to challenge what everyone else takes for granted. And the grapplers who embrace it continue to write its story. One submission, one match, one generation at a time. From banned to essential, from danger to discipline, the heel hook has changed the sport forever. I hope you enjoyed the story of the heel hook. If you did, make sure to like, subscribe. What was your favorite part of the heel hook's legacy? Leave a comment. Anyways, with that being said, I hope you guys have a great day. Get out there and train. Goodbye!